The mysterious Benben stone, an obelisk-like stone that was symbolic of the primeval mound of creation in Heliopolis. Now, the Benben stone is a symbol of the phoenix, which had the ability to revive itself and be reborn again. It also represents the cycle of the seasons, and it was found in the Temple of the Phoenix, which was within the precinct of the great sun temple of Heliopolis. Perhaps the stone was seen by Egyptians as the seed of the legendary bird, since Benben meant fertilization in their language. Now, according to legend, Benben was the mound that arose from the primordial waters of Nu, in which the creator god Atum, also known as Atum Ra, and then Ra, the supreme solar god, shaped the world. This is the creation myth of the Heliopolitan form of ancient Egyptian religion. Now, in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, there is a reference to the Benben stone which says, "O Atum Koprer, you became high on the height. You rose up as the Benben stone in the mansion of the Phoenix at On." The sun temple at Heliopolis was called On by the Egyptians. Now, it is purported that the shape of the pyramids was modeled on the Benben. The stone is also known as Pyramidion. And in fact, there are many examples of pyramidions that have survived, and many of them are found in museums. Others have referred to it as the Stone of Destiny. The mythical powers of the stone were of interest to powerful men, and efforts were made to locate them. These stones are believed to have the ability to enlighten the person who is in its surroundings and is capable of producing mystical powers. So let's look at some of these Pyramidions or Pyramidions. And before we do, let's recap what we said using the term Pyramidion, which is the sacred stone that crowned the Egyptian pyramids and obelisks. Now, not all Pyramidions are the Benben stone, but each of them are thought to represent the idea of the Benben stone, the primordial creation myth. And so therefore, a Pyramidion is the uppermost piece or capstone of an Egyptian pyramid or obelisk. Speakers of the ancient Egyptian language referred to Pyramidia as Benben and associated the pyramid as a whole with the sacred Benben stone. Now, during Egypt's Old Kingdom, Pyramidia were generally made of diorite or even granite, sometimes fine limestone. But then they were all covered in gold or electrum. And during the Middle Kingdom and through the end of the pyramid building era, quote unquote, they were built from granite. Now, a Pyramidion was covered in gold leaf to reflect the rays of the sun. And during Egypt's Middle Kingdom, Pyramidia were often inscribed with royal titles and religious symbols. Although very few Pyramidia have survived into modern times, most of those that remain are made of polished black granite and inscribed with the name of the pyramid's owner. Now, 4 Pyramidia, the world's largest collection, are housed in the main hall of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. And among them are the pyramidia from the so-called Black Pyramid of Amenemhat III. And you're looking at that here. Now, the so-called Black Pyramid of Amenemhat III at Dashur is one of the most spectacular black granite Benben stones I've ever seen, with a depiction of a phoenix underlain by very telling eyes staring directly at you. And there was also a pyramidia from the Pyramid of Kenjer at Saqqara. But let's look at some of them. So this is the pyramidion from the tomb of the priest Rer in Abydos, where you can clearly see some of the hieroglyphic inscriptions and obviously the sun above his head there. And this piece here, this is the Pyramidion of Nesnubhotep, the top of a limestone chapel monument, where you can clearly see a scarab and adoring baboons in relief. Here. Baboon. And this is believed to be from the 26th dynasty, from Abydos in Egypt. And then we have the Pyramidion of Nabanon, possibly top of a stela, and this is limestone, from the 19th dynasty. But similar, two hands up, like a double high five, and this is also from Egypt. It was bought in the Thabai region, but probably came from the Deir el Medina. I don't speak much Egyptian. And here we can see a restoration project at the Red Pyramid in Dashur and the restored Pyramidion belonging to the Red Pyramid of the pharaoh Snoferu at Dashur. It's now on permanent open-air display beside the pyramid that it was intended to surmount. And here we have ever more granite carvings from a culture that had no tools to carve the granite. I mean, come on. How long are we going to believe this insane story that these carvings were made by people that didn't have diamond tools or steel chisels or anything like that? Nothing but rocks and copper here, folks. Now, this is the Pyramidion of a granite obelisk from the Karnak temple. And we were talking about the intentional burial of the Karnak temple last night in our last podcast. It's clear here if you look behind the seated figure or the pharaoh, there are advanced technologies being displayed back there, as well as other advanced scientific concepts. So this is the Pyramidion of granite from an obelisk at the Karnak temple. And then finally, one of the creepiest Pyramidions, in my opinion, is from the Pyramid of Kenjer. And this is housed at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo and was reconstructed from just a few pieces, which you can see here that have the inscriptions. Now, just to recap, according to legend, these Benbens, or Pyramidions, are made to represent the original Benben because the Benben was the mound that arose from the primordial waters of Nu, in which the creator god Atum, or Atum Ra, shaped the world. This is the creation myth of the Heliopolitan form of ancient Egyptian religion. And I'm sticking with it. What was the purpose of these? Is it like the equivalent of a Bible on the top of a structure? Was it more of a connector to the upper realms, to the universe? Or did it have a specific scientific purpose? Well, because of the different lithologies in these Pyramidion, probably not. But the fact that they were coated with gold, copper, electrum, and other metals, which are now gone due to the weathering of time, gives us some pause to think of how advanced these cultures actually were. And the stories we were told in grade school and in college about the slave labor and the ramps, is any of that really true? We'll get into that in future podcasts. And that's a boom to knowledge. Hope you got something out of the video. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with like-minded people and be safe. We love you. And that's a boom to knowledge.